Today what I'm going to be talking about is a concept of space. Now, you know, I tried in this lecture, and I've kind of worked on this concept for a little while, and I started talking about it a little bit more. And, you know, in some way we can really play on the idea of space being a final frontier in bonsai, you know, to play off the old Star Trek line. So, when we're talking about space, we have to really kind of even step back a little bit beyond that and think of how our brains perceive things and how do we define space. Well, very typically, if we have undetermined space, there's nothing, you know, to set your mind on. But if we start thinking about what defines space, the first basic element we're talking about is a line. So the minute if you see a blank piece of paper, the minute you put a line on that blank piece of paper, suddenly it changes the way you look at that paper. It might divide the space. The line might have a gesture, a curve, or a movement to it that suggests something to you. It might be such a gestural line that as you look at it, there might even be an image that you draw of it. So the existence of the line defines the same thing happens in bonsai. We begin with the line, and it's how we address the line in our trees that really sets the stage for a lot of the other things. When we focus on what line means in bonsai, we start with a fundamental line, and that's our trunk line. So many times, and we saw this in the workshop today, when we get trees, what we will end up doing is many times, and especially a broadleaf evergreen or deciduous tree, we have the ability, when we select that material, to find the ideal line and the ideal proportion of that line to begin our structure. These are a couple of pieces of material that I'm developing for a Shohin workshop, a workshop where the finished tree will be between 6 and 10 inches tall. These were both materials in 1-gallon cans. Now, this tree, 4 years ago, was a group of plants that I took from their 1-gallon cans. I purchased them at a nursery, and basically what I did is I cut them back to little stubs, you know, about 3 inches tall. At the same time, what I did is I cut the pots down, and I cut heavy root mass off of these guys. Now this variety of Eleagnus, it's a variety of silverberry. It has a real nice small leaf. It really twigs out nice. So this tree, again, what I did is I just found a proportion of the trunk and cut it about 3 inches. And this is a tree that I did the same thing 4 years ago too. So when you come and look in here, the thing I want you to really notice in these two trees is the trunks are virtually identical. But the difference in these is the degree of branch development in 6 months here versus the degree of branch development, you know, in 4 years. And so you'll see bigger branches in here. You'll see a lot more. You can just see the density already. This has been proved many times. But the process here is kind of fundamental to what we do. We get a piece of material, and we have to typically do something to it to create a proportion. But what we do in creating that proportion, that leads me to this next guy here. This is a Zelkova serrata, traditional Japanese material. And traditionally, Zelkova really make wonderful brooms. Now the broom style is one of the classic styles of bonsai. And it typically is an upright trunk. One of the characteristics of broom is, as much as possible, you'd like, am I making it difficult for you guys to see back there? You'd like, if you can, to start off with symmetry. Ideally, you'd like a straight trunk with nice branching all the way around. But from there on out, sky's the limit. This is a field-grown piece of material. This tree was established by first determining a line and a proportion. So this guy, when it came out of the ground, it literally was flat cut. It just was topped off. And what had happened is the topping stimulated the bud breaks that started this tree. Challenges in bonsai is when we take a piece of material, like 5-gallon can material, 1 gallon can material, and when we find that base and we find that trunk coming up, and now we need to create some taper in the tree. We need to start diminishing the size or the diameter. So a lot of times what we'll do is we'll try and find a side branch or some secondary branch to bring up, and we'll make that cut. Well, I'll tell you, having seen thousands of trees in my bonsai lifetime, both good and bad, one of the most awkward things that a tree can hold on to time is an awkward transition. The taper rate in a tree starts from the base, and that gradual reduction does not end until it reaches the tip of a branch or the tip of an apex. This guy, going back here, the quality of this line incorporates this first trunk. And again, the transition from the first trunk into this group of trunks, that's kind of the critical area here. So, this guy, when I cleaned up this cut and I identified the lines that I wanted to form into my new trunk, what I did is I let them run. I let them run like crazy. For the first year entirely, the top just went out again. If it grows out, I'll cut it again. So over the next couple of years, I'll get this real dense crown of nicely divided, nicely tapered, nicely moved branches in there. And that's really, when we talk about the quality of our line and what we're getting to, that's really the essence of it.